Who wants to talk about the Book of Job? Hi, I'm Shaggy. I'm Philaliteia. You've caught me cursing God in my heart. There's one question I always end up with unanswered whenever I engage with anybody else's material, media, not content, revolving around the Book of Job. And that's why the author chose the character Job. All they really want to give you is, well, he's a guy that was mentioned in the book of Ezekiel, I think. Maybe Jeremiah. One of the prophets mentioned him. He was a contemporary of the prophets, but he was distant. So that makes him a convenient character that there's not a lot known about him in the Jewish canon. And it's like, well, that's a fucking terrible reason. That's the shallowest possible reason that a writer could use a character to do exactly what that writer did with Job. And now if you want to know what I think that writer did with Job, you can read my metatext, or you can watch my metatext on Job that I didn't finish because nobody showed up. If you're going to answer the question why the author of Job chose Job, you've got to ask fundamental questions of the prophets themselves, which means you've got to engage with the one claim, the one statement that is made in the book of Job that's heretical, that's different from what the prophets say, which means we're back to Job's wife. Curse God and die. Die to your integrity, is what she said. It's interesting because recently I was pushing on Gemini, Google's AI, about this topic. When I pointed out to it that it cut out the word integrity, it actually pulled out, actually, you're right, I did cut out the word integrity because that's too abstract and complicated to talk about. And I said, well, it's the only part of the book I want to talk about because I think Job's wife wasn't one of the stupid women, because every sentence in those books matters. And what Job is not doing is dismissing women. What he's doing is saying that his wife isn't one of them, which means that the author is telling us that what she's just said isn't what one of those women would have said, which means that the most important line of that book is curse God and die to your integrity. Well, what does that mean in the face of books like Jonah? Because Jonah curses God, and what's he do? Well, he curses him right back. But what happens when Job tells God that God owes him an apology, that he owes him an explanation? God tells him to get fucked. Who were you? Where were you when I X, Y, and Z? So why do the prophets never talk about the ethics of God's behavior? Even when they're arguing with God in his bad behavior. When Abraham is telling God, you can't kill everybody just because there are a few people who are unrighteous. He talks God down and God's like, there's nobody in that whole damn city of Sodom, neither of those cities, Gomorrah, that is righteous. And Abraham says, okay, well fine, I'll talk you down to if there's one person you can't destroy those cities. And what happens? God escorts that one person out of the city. He doesn't break his covenant with Abraham. He gets around it in magical means. So why do the prophets always criticize your behavior and never God's? You ever think about that? I'm sure you don't, because what you don't read is the prophets. What you don't read is the social commentarians who go, actually, it's not the systems and it's not anything that has anything to do with industry. It's actually you. It's the people in the lived experience treating one another like dog shit. That's the problem. And so then you think about the prophets and you go, okay, well, how do you start a movement based around telling people they're dog shit? Well, you have to start over. You have to tell them how to behave as though they're children. And now we're in the mindfuck of cult. Why wouldn't I prefer to curse God and not mindfuck you?